Good morning and welcome to the First Unitarian Church of St. Louis and happy St. Patrick's Day. Hello, my name is Sue Fazio and my pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm a member of the worship committee. We are glad you could join us this Sunday. If you are a visitor or a newcomer, we'd like to extend a special welcome. And if you're new to our congregation, be sure to fill out a newcomer form found in the live stream description or in the lobby of the church. After the service, please join us for coffee and donuts in Fellowship Hall downstairs. If you are attending online, you can connect with each other in the chat, and don't forget the link for virtual coffee hour can be found in your weekly e-news. We especially want to welcome any families with children. You can connect with Danielle Kozemchuk, Director of Religious Education, for information about our religious education programs for children and youth, or click on the link in the description. Later in the service, there will be an opportunity to share personal joys and sorrows. You can submit yours via the online form. You can find the link in your order of service in the live stream description, or simply aim your smartphone at the QR codes around the sanctuary. There are some announcements this morning. After today's service, there will be a baked goods and fair trade sale in Fellowship Hall during coffee hour. All proceeds will go to our Boston Fun Trip, which is for the youth. On Thursday, March 28th, a Maundy Thursday service will be held at 6:30 p.m., led by George Grimm Howell and Sarah Dashner. This service allows us to contemplate the magnitude of the loss that Jesus faced and to contemplate the bravery we all seek as we peer into the darkness. Join us in person in the sanctuary or virtually on the church's YouTube channel. On Sunday, March 31st, join us for Easter Sunday worship service at 10. Directly after the service, an Easter egg hunt will be held on the Kings Highway lawn. Children and parents are invited to gather in the Hope Chapel foyer. Young children up to the ages of 5 will go first, then K through 3rd, then the older children. Save the date for the trivia night on Saturday, April 13th. Registration is now open for this fun event. This year's theme will be heroes and villains. A table of 8 is $200 or individual tickets are $25. More information and the registration link can be found in the e-news. Welcome to this religious community where we affirm the dignity and freedom of all who enter. Here we seek to live together in relationship and respect so that we may embrace and celebrate our differences. Our religious values invite us to a shared journey of truth and meaning. Sincerity and connection guide our religious community and call us into deeper association with ourselves and our world. Welcome. We are glad that you are here and part of our community this morning. Now, please enjoy our prelude by Irish fiddler Andrew Finn McGill. Finn, a Unitarian who calls Asheville, North Carolina home, has played for us before. He's appeared on PBS and NPR and is a Fulbright and North Carolina Arts Fellow.
Morning, I am Tom Finan. He, him, his are my pronouns. I serve this congregation as a member of the worship committee. Our theme for the month of March is transformation. I call us into worship with a poem titled Purification from the poet Wendell Berry. At the start of spring, I open a trench in the ground, and I put into it the winter's accumulation of paper pages I do not want to read again, useless words, fragments, errors. And I put into it the contents of the outhouse, light of the sin, sun of the ground, finished with their journeys. To the sky, to the wind, then to the faithful trees I confess my sins, that I've not been happy enough, considering my good luck, have listened too much noise, have been too inattentive to wonders, have lusted after praise. And then upon the gathered refuse of mind and body, I close the trench, folding shut again the dark, the deathless earth. Beneath that seal, the old escapes the new. I invite you to rise as you're willing and able to join in our hymn of the month, number 128, For All That Is Our Life.
Today's chalice lighting words come from Jennifer McLaughlin. As the first hint of green begins to peek through the barren ground, as that little sprig grows into a healthy stem, as that stem grows into a stalk and forms a bud, as that bud slowly opens with each new day to form a yellow daffodil, let us be like that first hint of green, renewed by the warmth of the sun's rays, and ready to emerge with a new energy, ready to face the day. We light this chalice to bring a glimmer of that warmth into our space.
morning, everyone. My name is Danielle Kazemchek, and I am the Director of Religious Education and Church Communications, and I am going to read the story for all ages today. It is called Ostara and the Hare by Alexandre Ravenhart and illustrated by Maria Finchenko. It's a very busy morning today, and I forgot my mic pack, and now I can't find it. That's why I had to run out here. But thankfully, we had this mic all set up already, so. If any of the children do want to come up front, they can. Anybody else? Okay. Oh, hark the sound of songbirds singing sweetly in the sky. Behold the chipper chattering of chipmunks bustling by. Inhale the pleasant perfumed breeze of sprouting vegetation as fragrant fields of flower buds all bloom in celebration. Even the bees are buzzing to the beat the bluebells ring. For night and day are equal now. Today's the first of spring. The flora, fae, and fauna all make merry in their mirth as they toast the sacred marriage of the sun to maiden earth. When nature's children mingled, there was one who wasn't there. The rabbit said to the bunny, "Say, have you seen the hare?" In truth, the hare was first to wake upon his grassy nest, but straightway he knew today would not be like the rest. For when he stood to start his day and stretched his lucky legs, he realized, to his surprise, that he had laid an egg. Hey, Amari, is that weird? Do rabbits lay eggs? Okay. It's kind of weird. They start out as tiny rabbits. That's true, yeah. When usually hares are born, they're tiny little hares, and then they grow into big rabbits. So it's not usual for it to be an egg. Its shell was rainbow colored, and the hare exclaimed, "My word, no mammals laid an egg before. That stuff's for bees and birds." Bees don't lay eggs, no. He hoped he might find someone with an answer if he'd ask it, so the hare hopped hither, thither, yonder, with his bundle in a basket. He asked the crow, who didn't know. The tortoise couldn't tell him. The fairy folk found it a joke. The gnomes weren't home to help him. But just before all hope seemed lost, there came a cordial call. Old Robin swept up to the scene. "Young hare, don't you recall? Oh, bless the bliss of naive life," he twittered to the hare. "Follow the rainbow to Ostara. You'll find your answer there." Now, most of nature's children, be they falcon, fish, or fox, know Ostara as the goddess of the springtime equinox. But the hare had never met her, so he struggled to pretend. His belly wasn't filled with butterflies when he reached that rainbow's end. As soon as hare beheld her, he could not believe his eyes. Ostara's beauty was breathtaking, and tremendous was her size. Flowers blossomed all around her while she sang a sacred psalm. "Hello, my friend," Ostara said, and held him in her palm. With the egg. "Oh, green goddess," said the hare, "please listen to my plea. I've laid this egg here, and I fear there's something wrong with me. The goddess gave a gleaming grin, broad as the ocean shore. Don't you recall, the goddess asked, just as old Robin did before? She said, once there flew a brilliant bird with rainbow-colored feathers, and every spring she'd visit me and we would sing together. But one year, winter stayed too long and frosted her bright plumes. So I formed her feathers into fur to save her from her doom. His memories returned at once. That rainbow bird was me. Oh, goddess, now I understand, the hare cried, tears of glee. Please take this egg as tribute for saving me from strife. Each spring I will come back again to thank you for new life. So every spring the hare returns, still grateful to his goddess, and gifts her rainbow-colored eggs in keeping with his promise. Then he visits every village garden, hiding eggs in secret places, and waits to watch the joy of life spring to light in children's faces. The end. And with that, we'll go ahead and sing the children out to their classes. 1st through 7th graders, we're going to be in the garden today, so I'll see you there.
Good morning. My name is not Sarah Francois, but my name is Erin Milligan. I'm wearing lots of green today because I'm a Milligan and to celebrate St. Patrick's Day, but also because green is the color of money. And we like money and we need money, and annually we ask for your money. So Sarah and I are heading up the Canvas Committee this year, as I'm sure you've heard, as we make weekly announcements about it. So here's our great news for this morning. To date, hot off the presses this morning, our church community has raised $328,546. Let's clap. That means that we have raised 76% of our Canvas goal, which is incredible. I want to thank everyone who has shown their love and their dedication and their generosity to our wonderful, beloved church community. We have $154,000 to go, and we have a couple weeks left of the Canvas. So I want to encourage you, if you haven't yet made your pledge, and if you're having any problems with it, please let me know, please let Sarah know. We're happy to help you find an envelope downstairs or to help you find the link to make your pledge online. The board, the church board, will probably in the next week or two be calling folks if you haven't yet made your pledge. So you may be hearing from a friendly board member if you haven't yet pledged. And next week, we'll be hearing some remarks from Kathy Wire, who is going to discuss our church budget. So I just, again, want to thank you all for your generosity and your commitment to the church Canvas, and I hope you have a beautiful day and a beautiful St. Patrick's Day. Thank you.
My name is Scott Sinclair, with pronouns he, him, his. I was born in Independence, Missouri, and like most people on planet Earth, I was sort of born into or nurtured into a faith tradition. And in my case, that was the Community of Christ. In fact, my parents on both sides of the family go back 3 or 4 generations, as is the case with Cheryl also. And for years, this Community of Christ was very helpful for me, and it was a good fit. When I was working for an engineer, I became a lay minister. Later, I was a lay pastor. And then after going through a program of studies, actually 2 of them, I became a full-time minister, first as a pastor in Independence, Missouri, which happens to be the headquarters of this denomination. Later on, I was a bishop in Tulsa area, and finally, I was the bishop over the greater Los Angeles area, ranging from Costa Mesa to San Luis Obispo to Hemet, if you're familiar with that area. When Cheryl and I met and married in California, we were both subject to being transferred. Her transfer came first. And when we analyzed our career paths, we decided to follow her path to Wisconsin, at which time I went into a PhD program in philosophy. After I graduated from that, I began teaching various courses in philosophy, which included world religions. This was a good fit for me because I had been a minister. I had traveled somewhat in Israel and India and enjoyed it very much. And during the course of teaching world religions, occasionally I would have a student ask me the question, what if I'm a Christian, but I really don't believe, or it no longer works for me to believe in a Trinitarian formula? My answer was always the same: go check out the Unitarians. Now, my religious journey started in a very conservative religion, and over time and education and experience, I ended up being in a very progressive or liberal spirituality. The further I moved in that direction, the more difficult it became for me to be in my congregation because I didn't like the gendered pronouns for God language, and so when I sang hymns in the congregation, I often altered them, probably to the annoyance of people that were singing around me. Later on, when I became less enamored with Trinitarian titles for the Godhead, I altered them also. And once again, there was annoyance there. And finally, near the end of my career, I tried doing sermons in which I didn't mention God at all. Did not go all that well. And so the time finally came when I could, in good conscience, no longer be a minister. And so I voluntarily gave up my ministerial credentials, and I reinvested myself in my Scotch-Irish heritage. By the way, Tom and I had an agreement to both wear hats today. I wanted to make a difference especially in the Scottish world, but also Irish. So about 1.5 years ago, I decided to take my own advice. I decided to come check out the Unitarians. I knew the concept of Unitarianism. I was less familiar with universalism, but when I began to read into that, and I read 4 or 5 introductory books, I already believed that also. And so from a religious viewpoint, it was a really good fit for me. Within the aspect of the First Unitarian Church of St. Louis, this was great. We love coming here. We have a commitment to nourishing spirituality, to try to breathe in the fragrance of the many world religions that can bring spirituality to us. I am committed to trying to build community, and Cheryl and I have enjoyed immensely the donuts, and maybe me too much donuts, but donuts and coffee downstairs. We've tried to involve ourselves in lots of different aspects of this congregation, and we are delighted to be here. Finally, In addition to the many things that we do to advance justice in this congregation, just the spirit of social activism is a breath of fresh air in our lives, and we are grateful for that. And so, about a year ago, actually in March, I signed the membership record. The canvass was going on at the time. I remember distinctly Tom Crouch's statement. I was influenced by that. And Cheryl and I looked at each other and we decided that we would make our pledge an amount that we thought was appropriate. No. Now, a year later, we look at that pledge and we consider what we have discovered in this place and with this people, and we have changed it a lot. And so I would suggest that as we are in this canvas campaign, that we consider anew the many facets of the jewel, the absolute jewel that we call the First Unitarian Church of St. Louis. For all of the facets, we have a rock star for a pastor. We have a terrific music department with Earl and Joel, and of course, I could go on, Daniel. Augie always makes me feel like I'm at home when I come here. As we consider all of these aspects which we have in this place, the relevance of this congregation, this church, may we make our pledges or renew our pledges or increase our pledges to the point when we can feel very good and an appropriate sense of pride as being a member here and now, in a place of relevance, in a place where we can sing every word in the hymnal, or at least in my case, make joyful noises at times. Thank you very much.
You always want to follow a professional preacher. It's just... Each week, we bring our joys and celebrations, sorrows and concerns with us to this community. The love of this congregation transforms these moments into connection and to survival. Now is the time in our service when we connect with one another by sharing our sorrows and concerns. Our trans siblings are hurting following the medical examiner's ruling of next Benedict's death as suicide. Remembering our amazing, beautiful daughter Elizabeth, who died 6 years ago. Having wrist surgery on Monday. My sibling died of suicide this week. We hold these concerns with tenderness and with compassion. May they be lighter because they are shared. As a community, we also share our joys and celebrations with one another. Celebrating an uneventful recovery from a recent surgery. Knowing that no matter what comes up, things in the chaos closet are always in good hands with our amazing team of volunteers and the great work of a reliable substitute. Both of my kids had good report cards. I got my disability determination finally, one step closer to a home of my own. We hold these joys with gladness and celebration. May they be magnified because they are shared. With many joys and concerns remaining unspoken in our hearts and minds, please join me in a spirit of prayer and mindful attention with this reflection from Vanessa Rush Southern and Allison Jacks. Life is complicated and uncertain and gorgeous with some things we can count on. It has seasons of struggle and seasons of delight, and sometimes the two blow in and bloom simultaneously, like now, maybe always, And we're here together, all of us from different corners of the world and different families. We're here, breathing together, questing together, holding each other through it all, laughing and singing in the face of it. If there is a journey to liberation, if there is a way to resurrection, I think it is like this. May what holds us in bondage to death or loss or hurt or sadness or literal heartbreaking limits be released. And what gives us joy, hope, rebirth, feel invited to claim us, and may we claim it. Sinking our roots down into what grounds us, reaching toward the sun, flowering into the season of all of whose traditions witness to life more abundant, claiming us. After a season of loss and winter, struggles of heart and mind and spirit. And may we open our hearts to the abundance of creation that surrounds and sustains us. May it be so. Amen and blessed be.
This morning's reading is Spring by poet Mary Oliver. Somewhere, a black bear has just risen from sleep and is staring down the mountain all night in the brisk and shallow restlessness of early spring. I think of her four black fists flickering the gravel, her tongue like a red fire touching the grass, the cold water. There's only one question: how to love this world. I think of her rising like a black and leafy ledge to sharpen her claws against the silence of the trees. Wherever else my life is, with its poems and its music and its glass cities, it is also this dazzling darkness coming down the mountain, breathing and tasting. All day I think of her white teeth, her wordlessness, her perfect love.
The First Unitarian Church of St. Louis strives to be a welcoming congregation, inspiring lives of loving kindness and integrity by nurturing spirituality, building community, and advancing justice. One of the ways we do this is by sharing the plate. This morning's offering will now be received.
Danny boy, the pipes are calling from glen to glen and down the mountainside. The summer's gone and all the roses fallen. 'Tis you must go, and I must bide. But come ye back when summer's in the meadow, Danny boy, oh, Danny boy, I love you so. And if you come and all the flowers are dying, and I am dead, as dead I well may be, you'll come and find the place where I am lying, and kneel and say an Ave there for me. And I will hear the soft ye tread above me, and all my grief will warm a sweeter be. And you will bend and tell me that you love me, and I shall rest in peace until you come to me.
We are thankful for all of those who are supporting this year's canvas. We're also grateful for the beauty of Irish music and the fellowship and the connections that it brings. For your gifts today and every day, thank you. This morning we're going to take a slightly cockeyed trip through the transformation of vernal equinox, or spring, using the lenses of Irish, Jewish, and earth-centric culture. And in case you're put off by the title of my talk this morning, An Irishman, a Jew, and a Pagan walked into a bar, rest assured. This is as close as I'm going to get to being my stage Irishman soapbox this morning. This path to this whimsical, if not wacky, service title rises from the internal workings of your church's worship committee. When Reverend Kim is out of the pulpit, members of our committee and of the congregation at large, Scott, step up and volunteer to produce a service. You didn't volunteer to preach today, so you wound up with me. The general theme for Unitarian services this month is transformation. So the worship committee started there. We next looked at the events on the calendar. Today, March 17th is St. Patrick's Day. Tuesday is Vernal Equinox, and Purim is next Saturday on March 23rd. Well, as we discussed this, I said this sounds like one of those old jokes, an Irishman, a Jew, and a Pagan walked into a bar. If you're going to do that, it better be funny, somebody said. That's not going to happen. If you want improv, you're going to have to wait for Reverend Kim to come back. Besides, the more I dug into this, the more I came face to face with a powerful truth. The stories we have told through many cultures and many centuries repeat and reinforce the message of transformation, rebirth, and liberation. These stories cross one another through time and through tradition. The vernal equinox, also known as the spring equinox, occurs when the sun crosses the celestial equator and enters the northern hemisphere, marking the beginning of spring in the northern hemisphere. This event usually takes place around March 20th or 21st, but this is leap year, so it is shifted by a calendar day. Vernal equinox is a time when day and night are approximately equal in duration, and it holds cultural and religious significance in various traditions, including Irish, Jewish, and pagan cultures. Half a century ago, when I was in college, I worked at a newspaper in Carlow, Ireland. It's in what's called the Pale, 40 miles southeast of Dublin, and it's near where my family came from in Roscommon. There's still Finans in Ballintuber, Roscommon today. While Ireland was at the time ostensibly Christian, or at least Catholic, as I traveled about, I was reminded frequently of the crossover between the Ireland of 1970 and the ancient earth-centered culture that came before. For instance, on the outskirts of the town of Carlow stands the Browns Hill Dolmen on a former English estate. Everything was owned by them back then. A portal tomb built from massive stones from between 4000 and 3000 BC. But that tomb was a youngster by Irish standards. At the 5,000-year-old Loch Hugh Passage Tomb in County Meath to the southeast of Dublin, the rising sun on the mornings around the equinoxes in March and September glows in the passage chamber. The backstones of the chamber with its engraved sun symbols is bathed in a blaze of golden light during a 50-minute illumination. By the time St. Patrick arrived on the scene in Irish culture with its myths and legends, was thousands of years old. Our celebration, St. Patrick's Day, March 17th, is said to mark the date of his death in 461 AD. At that time, the influence of Druidic and Celtic mythology was still strong. Even today, many neo-pagan religions, such as Wicca, Druidry, and Celtic polytheism, have followings in Ireland. In Celtic mythology, the spring equinox was the day that the night and the day stood equal, and the rare balance is seen as a time for magic and nature. In pagan traditions, the vernal equinox is often celebrated as one of the 8 Sabbats of the wheel of the year. The vernal equinox is also known as Ostara, our story for all ages this morning. Time of rebirth and renewal in Celtic mythology. For the Celts, the spring equinox was a time of great importance. It was a time when the balance of light and darkness in the natural world filled with the promise of new beginnings. It is believed that the Christian celebration of Easter got its name from the obscure Germanic and Anglo-Saxon divinity Ostra, also spelled Istra, Ostara, or Astra. Ostra was the goddess of spring and daybreak. In Celtic mythology, the goddess Ostra was the patron of the spring equinox. She was the embodiment of fertility, of growth, and renewal. And as noted earlier in today's story for all ages, I said that already, she was often associated with the hare and the eggs, symbols of new life and rebirth. One of the most well-known tales of Celtic mythology is the story of Cernunnos, the horned god of the forest. Cernunnos was often depicted as a half-man, half-deer figure with antlers atop his head and a powerful masculine presence. According to the legend, Cernunnos represented the cycle of life and death and was closely associated with the natural world. He was also believed to have the power to bring new life to the land. He was often invoked during the spring equinox as a symbol of renewal and of rebirth. Another important figure in the Celtic mythology during spring equinox was Bridget, the triple threat deity who was mentioned in our service 3 weeks ago. She was Wonder Woman. She was the goddess of fire, poetry, and smithcraft. Bridget was often invoked during the spring equinox as a symbol of creativity and inspiration. Her association with fire made her a powerful figure of transformation and change. And many people believe that she had the power to bring new life to the world around them. As the spring equinox approaches, many people still celebrate this ancient Celtic holiday, drawing on its rich mythology and symbolism to mark the changing of the seasons. One of the most popular ways to celebrate the spring equinox is through the creation of an Ostara altar. This can include a variety of symbols such as eggs, seeds, flowers, and candles, all of which represent this theme of new beginnings and of renewal. Another common tradition during the spring equinox is the lighting of a bonfire. This symbolizes the return of warmth and light to the world and is often accompanied by feasting, dancing, and singing. So I mentioned the Jewish feast of Purim in my opening, but you're going to have to wait until next Sunday to hear the story of Queen Esther, because she'll be the subject of Reverend Kim's sermon on next Sunday. The Jewish calendar festival that more typically comes around this time of the vernal equinox is known as Passover or Pesach, but not this year. The timing of Passover is determined by the lunar calendar, and it often coincides with the arrival of the spring in the northern hemisphere. Because the lunar calendar and the solar or Georgian calendar don't align, every few years the Jewish calendar gets a reset with a leap month. That's why Passover is on April 15th. So Passover is on tax day this day. Wow. Jews observe Passover by hosting a ritual dinner called a Seder, and by abstaining from eating all leavened bread for about a week. A hard-boiled egg, got these eggs that keep coming back, usually roasted, is often placed on the Seder plate. Its roundness alludes to the cycle of rebirth and renewal, while its burnt and sometimes cracked shell serves as a reminder of ancient sacrificial offerings. Easter is a parallel time, a parallel Christian holiday, celebrating the resurrection of Jesus Christ and the freedom from sin and death. These holidays have a lot in common. They share themes of liberation and triumph. They both involve buying a lot of eggs, and they were a pretty big deal for Jesus. The spring equinox is also a time for planting and sowing seeds, both literally and metaphorically. As the natural world comes back to life, many people take this opportunity to start new projects, set new goals, and make changes in their lives. Whether you celebrate the spring equinox as part of your spiritual practice or simply to connect with the changing of the seasons, it remains an important time of the year for many people around the world. While the specific traditions and rituals may vary, the underlying symbolism of the equinox is a time of balance and emergence of life, and is shared across different cultures. Life, freedom, rebirth. They're all certainly worthy topics for, as the Irish would say, going down to the pub for a bit of a crack. That's Irish slang for friendly conversation. So I'll see you in Fellowship Hall for some good crack. Please rise in body or spirit for our closing hymn, number 20, Be Thou My Vision.
Now
Our closing words today come from Pope John Paul II speaking to a gathering of youth in Galway, Ireland in 1979. Sometimes one could have the feeling that before the experiences of history and concrete situations, love has lost its power and that it is impossible to practice. And yet, in the long run, love always brings victory. Love is never defeated. And I could add, the history of Ireland proves that. If it were not so, humanity would be only condemned to destruction. Amen, blessed be, and go in peace. Please stay for the postlude, Morphin. When it ends as your final act of worship, please turn and greet your neighbor.